Okay, so continuing on with the toolbar, the next tool is called object selection. This is if you want to just quickly select something. I don't really use this one very often, so I would just skip it. The next one is the crop feature. So if you only want part of your image to be showing, you drag it all the way out like that. And then you either need to press right up here, you either need to press the check mark to say okay, confirm, or you can press the enter key. So I'm going to press enter, and now my image is cropped. Okay, going right down the line, here is the eyedropper tool. You guys are probably a little bit familiar with this if you use Snapchat or something like that. If you select the eyedropper tool and then you click on a color in the image, you're going to see right over here that the color is changing depending on what I click on. So that's a great way to select a color, and then right down here you can use the paintbrush to then draw with that color. So you can match the photo just like that. I mean, you're not going to scribble on your photo, but just so you can see. I'm going to press Control Z to get rid of that, moving on down. This one right here, the spot healing brush, just ignore that. This is called the clone tool. So if you select something, you can create a stamp with it. I wouldn't worry about that. I would use these selection tools to do that instead. This tool is the eraser tool, so you can erase whatever you have put on your image. Now notice how when I was erasing, only layer 1 was erased. That's because I was selected on layer 1. If I wanted to erase the background, I'd have to click on the background and then I can erase there. Okay? The reason you're seeing those little check mark patterns is that there's no pixels behind that image. That means there's absolutely nothing in that image. When you would go to save it, that would turn white, just so you know. But if it's bothering you, you could also create a new layer. So creating a new layer down here. Maybe you want to take your paint can. So if you click right over here, you either get gradient tool or paint bucket tool. I want paint bucket tool. If I click on that layer, now that's all been covered up by that yellow color. But right over here, I'm going to drag that layer down to be behind the background. So now that empty space is covered up with yellow. Now, if I were to put the yellow on top, everything would be hidden. In the middle, you can only see a little bit of layer 1. And then that's how I'm getting that empty pixel space to be filled up with something. So I'm going to delete that. You can click on layer 1, press the delete button. You can also click on the layer and click on this button right here, which is delete layer right at the bottom. But I think it's a lot easier to just press the delete key. Now, over here, this is the blur tool. If you want to blur things together, if you're noticing what I'm drawing with is really, really tiny. If you want it to be a little bit bigger, you click up here. You can make the size bigger. You can change what kind of brush you're using. Same goes with the paintbrush. So now I'm going to make mine even bigger so you can see it. So if I do this, it'll blur things together. Now, I don't really have a ton of stuff on my image, so you can't really see, but the more I wave my mouse around it, so I'm clicking, you can see that the image is starting to get really blurry. So you can select like what is really clear in the foreground and what is blurry in the background if you're interested in that. The blur tool is really handy. I'm going to press undo because I don't want my photo to be super blurry, so I'm going all the way back to the beginning. Now, moving on down, ignore this tool, unless you want to try it, but honestly, it doesn't really do much. It makes certain areas brighter or darker, but you don't really have to worry about that. Going over to the text tool, if you would like, you can add some text to your image. So if I click right up here, I'm adding a bunch of letters. You can change the size. You have to highlight it first. You can change the size. You can change the font. So there's lots of different fonts over here. You can even change the color. You can change whether it's centered, right, indent, or left. Lots of different things you can do. You can warp it, so you can make your letters bend. I'm going to do an arc right here, so you can actually have what you want to say, kind of make a beautiful arc on your image. Going on down, don't worry about the pen tool. Don't worry about path select. This is how you can put shapes in your image right over here on the left toolbar. So if you want to add a rectangle, you can. This is where you change the color. If you want to add a custom shape, click on that. And then right up here, this is where you will change the shape. So I'm clicking on that shape button. It takes a minute to load, and then you've got all these cool shapes that you can use in here. Click on the shape you want, and then click and drag, and it will pop up in your image. Okay, so that is our left toolbar. Just a reminder that this is where your color is. So if you want a different color for your paintbrush, or you want a different color for whatever tool you're using, you have to click on the color, change it, press OK, and then you can draw with that color. So I'm going to go on top right here. All right. Thank you guys. Hope this made sense. That was a lot of information.